Last time we spoke, a lot of my listeners were slightly surprised to learn how little contact you'd had with the Prime Minister, with Downing Street and Boris Johnson. Has that situation improved at all?
Well, actually, I would say it's gone in the opposite direction. I've had no contact with any UK minister directly over the whole of this 3 weeks.
What does that mean, Mark? Does that mean that you're, forgive me, your phone is going unanswered or your messages are being unresponded? I mean, I don't understand the intricacies of that level of government. You're the First Minister of Wales. We're in a global pandemic, which obviously is, has swept the country. Good news, of course, I think, I'll ask you in a minute about that, about the reduction in the risk level. But, how hard are you trying to talk to them, if that's an appropriate question?
Look, I should say, to start with, that
yes.
An enormous amount of contact does go on at official level.
Yes.
And my ministerial team are in contact with their equivalents in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Whitehall.
Of course.
But for the bulk of this process, all of that has culminated in a meeting where the First Minister sit round the table together to share information, understand what one another are doing and sign off the final arrangements. I was myself genuinely surprised that there was no Cobra meeting at the end of the last 3-week process, because that's the way it had been happening. And as I say, 3 weeks has now gone by without any contact at all. And I have lost count, James, of the times that I have said over recent weeks that we need a regular, reliable rhythm of meetings in which the 4 component parts of the United Kingdom can get together to make better decisions. And that can't happen if the UK government is absent in action. And so we have a meeting today with Michael Gove, as I said.
Yes.
I hope that will reset this. Okay. And over the weeks ahead, we will have a predictable pattern of engagement between us. Because I want the United Kingdom to succeed. And the United Kingdom can't succeed in the way it should if we're not round the table together.
Let's imagine an alternate universe where the First Minister of Wales is a Tory and the First Minister of Scotland is a Tory. Now, would Boris Johnson be sitting down and listening to them, truly attempting to coordinate the effort to deal with this pandemic? Would Boris Johnson be doing that? Because the approach at the moment, if you could even call it an approach, is to treat Wales and Scotland with indifference, or I'd even go a step further and say disdain. Now, the measures that Wales and Scotland have implemented to deal with this pandemic are much more proactive and strict in respect to what's happening in England. Now, I don't know if this is embarrassing for Boris Johnson, because he sees, and we all see, how numbers of new cases and deaths are decreasing continually in both Wales and Scotland respectively. Now, this is an embarrassment for Boris Johnson because he has decided to take another direction, and instead of working with Wales and Scotland, he has decided instead to ignore them and go his own way. Now, Boris Johnson and his deputy Matt Hancock will of course always say, we're following the science. But if Wales and Scotland are also following the science, then it means that somebody is not. Now, Scotland and Wales have, of course, imposed much stricter lockdowns. And while I believe, and I truly believe this, that the Welsh and Scottish governments respectively are interested in dealing with this pandemic, protecting their citizens, I think Boris Johnson sees this as a threat to his power, to his authority. And he's attempting to punish both the Welsh and the Scottish governments. Now, remember, next year, after Brexit, there is the likelihood of a second referendum in Scotland for independence. Now, if this happens, and it wins, this will be extremely damaging politically to Boris Johnson. He will be the Prime Minister who has lost the referendum on independence. So he will either resign, or if he remains in office, he will attempt to undermine the referendum result, and he will undermine any attempts by Wales, perhaps, to eventually seek some type of independence also in their country. Now, of course, the situation in Wales and Scotland is quite different at the moment, and there isn't the same kind of support for independence in Wales as there is in Scotland. But imagine a Scottish government, a Welsh government dealing with this pandemic, becoming independent sometime in the future. This would be extremely damaging to the Conservative Party. They would be the party that oversaw the disintegration of the Union. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. Why not become a Patreon and enjoy access to our Discord server where we share news, chat, and have some fun? If you become a patron, you can also make video suggestions on topics that are important to you. Check it out via the link in the description.